Welcome back to another episode of the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and as always, we're here to help you improve your English skills with practical tips, real-life examples, and fun conversations. Whether you're just starting your English journey or looking to take your skills to the next level, we've got you covered.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. Today, we're diving into a topic that's so important for all English learners: how to improve your English fast. If you've ever felt stuck or wished you could make progress more quickly, don't worry, you're not alone. We've all been there.
Exactly. Learning a new language can feel overwhelming at times, but the good news is that with the right strategies, you can improve much faster than you think. And that's what we're going to share with you today. Practical tips, common mistakes to avoid, and a step-by-step approach to boost your English skills quickly.
So, whether you're preparing for a job interview, an important exam, or just want to feel more confident in conversations, stick with us. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear plan to improve your English fast. Are you ready, Jason?
Let's do this, Julia. And to our listeners, grab a notebook if you can, because you're going to want to remember these tips. Let's jump right in. All right, let's start by talking about why improving your English quickly is so important. Julia, don't you think being able to learn English faster can make a big difference in someone's life?
Absolutely, Jason. English is such a global language. It's used in business, education, travel, and even on social media. So, when you improve your English quickly, you open up so many opportunities, like better job prospects, easier communication when traveling, or even making new friends from around the world.
That's a great point. And let's not forget that in today's fast-paced world, people often don't have years to become fluent. For example, if someone gets a new job that requires speaking English or needs to pass an English test for university, they need to learn fast.
Exactly. Plus, the faster you improve, the more confident you feel. I've seen learners who, after just a few weeks of focused practice, start speaking up in meetings, joining group discussions, or even sharing their ideas in English online.
That's so inspiring, Julia. And the best part is, improving your English doesn't just help in professional settings, it can also make daily tasks easier, like understanding instructions, watching movies without subtitles, or even enjoying podcasts like this one.
Right. It's all about removing barriers. The quicker you improve your English, the faster you can start focusing on the things you love without worrying about language holding you back.
Well said. So, now that we've talked about why improving your English quickly is important, let's move on to the challenges learners face when trying to speed up the process. And of course, how to overcome them.
Yes, because we know it's not always easy, but with the right mindset and strategies, it's definitely achievable. Let's dive in.
Now, let's talk about the common challenges learners face when they're trying to improve their English quickly. Julia, I think we can both agree that learning fast isn't as easy as it sounds, right?
Absolutely, Jason. One of the biggest challenges is trying to do too much at once. A lot of learners think they need to learn everything: grammar rules, vocabulary, pronunciation, all at the same time. That can feel overwhelming and lead to burnout.
That's so true. When you try to take on too much, it's easy to lose focus. Another common issue is the fear of making mistakes. Many learners hesitate to speak or write because they're afraid of being judged or getting it wrong.
Yes, and that fear can really slow you down. Making mistakes is actually a part of the learning process, but I understand. It's hard to put yourself out there, especially if you're not feeling confident. What other challenges do you see, Jason?
Another big one is not having enough time. A lot of learners are juggling work, school, or family responsibilities, so it can be hard to find time to practice consistently.
Exactly. And on top of that, some learners don't know where to start. They don't have a clear plan, so they end up wasting time on methods that don't work for them, like just memorizing lists of vocabulary without using them in context.
Good point. I've also noticed that some people rely too much on passive learning, like just watching videos or listening to podcasts without actively engaging. While those methods are helpful, you need to combine them with speaking and writing practice to see real progress.
That's such a good observation. Another challenge is having unrealistic expectations. Some learners expect to become fluent in just a few weeks, and when they don't see fast results, they feel discouraged and give up.
Right. Language learning takes time, even when you're trying to learn quickly. It's about making steady progress, not achieving perfection overnight. And let's not forget about the lack of a supportive environment. If you don't have anyone to practice with, or don't immerse yourself in English, it's harder to improve.
Exactly. But you don't always need a native speaker to practice with. There are creative ways to overcome that, which we'll discuss later. I think another challenge is learning outdated methods. Some people stick to old textbooks or methods that don't match their learning style or goals.
That's a great point. Learning methods have evolved so much with technology, but not everyone takes advantage of the tools and resources available today. We'll definitely talk about that in our tips section. Anything else, Julia?
Just one more thing, Jason. A lot of learners focus too much on grammar rules and forget about communication. While grammar is important, the goal is to communicate your ideas, even if it's not perfect. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I always tell learners that making progress is about building confidence and being able to express yourself, not about getting every single sentence perfect. So, those are the most common challenges. But don't worry, we're going to share practical tips to help you overcome all of these.
Yes. Up next, we'll give you some of our best advice on how to improve your English fast. These are proven methods that work for learners of all levels. Let's dive in.
All right, it's time to get into the most exciting part of today's episode: effective tips to improve your English quickly. Julia, I know you've got some great advice for our listeners, so let's start with you. What's your first tip?
My first tip is to focus on the most important phrases and vocabulary first. If you're trying to learn quickly, don't waste time on words or expressions you'll rarely use. Start with what's practical, like greetings, basic questions, or words related to your daily life or job.
That's a fantastic point. I always say, learn what you need now, and you can expand later. My tip is to practice speaking as much as possible, even if you don't have a partner. You can talk to yourself, record your voice, or even use apps with AI conversation tools.
Yes, speaking is so important. And if you do have access to a language exchange partner or a tutor, make sure to use that time wisely. Don't just talk about random things. Focus on specific situations or topics you want to improve in.
Absolutely. Another tip is to immerse yourself in English. This doesn't mean you have to move to an English-speaking country. You can create an English environment by watching TV shows, listening to podcasts, or changing your phone's language to English.
I love that tip. Immersion works wonders. And let me add, don't just passively consume content. Be active. If you're watching a show, repeat phrases out loud. If you're listening to a podcast, try summarizing it afterward in your own words.
Great advice, Julia. My next tip is to focus on listening and mimicking native speakers. Pay attention to how they pronounce words, their intonation, and how they connect words together. Then, try to copy that as closely as possible.
Yes, shadowing is such a powerful technique. You listen to a sentence and repeat it immediately, trying to match the speaker's tone and rhythm. It helps improve both pronunciation and fluency.
Exactly. Another tip is to use spaced repetition for learning vocabulary. Apps like Anki or Quizlet can help you review words at the right time so you don't forget them. And when you learn new words, try to use them in sentences right away.
Good one, Jason. And let's not forget about writing. Writing every day, even if it's just a short paragraph or a diary entry, helps reinforce what you've learned. Plus, it's a great way to notice your progress over time.
That's true. Writing also helps you internalize grammar and sentence structures. Speaking of grammar, don't get stuck on perfection. Learn the basics, but prioritize communication over accuracy, especially if you're short on time.
Yes, fluency over perfection. And finally, my favorite tip, stay consistent. Even if you only have 15 minutes a day, make it count. Regular practice is more effective than cramming for hours once in a while.
Consistency is key. And remember, learning fast doesn't mean rushing. It's about focusing on the right strategies and practicing smarter, not harder. So, try these tips, and you'll see improvements in no time.
Exactly. Coming up, we'll talk about mistakes to avoid when trying to learn quickly. You don't want to miss this part.
Now that we've covered effective tips to improve your English quickly, let's talk about something just as important. Mistakes to avoid. Julia, what's the first mistake you think learners should be aware of?
One big mistake is focusing too much on grammar. Of course, grammar is important, but if you're spending all your time memorizing rules instead of practicing speaking and listening, your progress will be much slower.
Absolutely. Grammar has its place, but remember, the goal is communication. Another mistake I often see is learners relying only on passive learning, like watching videos or listening to podcasts, without actively using what they learn.
Exactly, Jason. Passive learning is helpful, but you need to practice actively by speaking, writing, or even having conversations in your head. Another mistake is expecting perfection. Some learners want to speak perfectly before they even try, which holds them back.
That's so true. Waiting for perfection is a trap because mistakes are part of the learning process. Speaking of traps, another mistake is trying to learn everything at once. If you spread yourself too thin, you won't make meaningful progress in any area.
Good point. It's better to focus on one or two skills at a time, like improving your listening and speaking first, and then move on to other areas. Another mistake is not practicing regularly. Some learners study for hours one day and then take a break for a week.
Yes, consistency is key. And here's another mistake: sticking to outdated methods. If you're using old textbooks or methods that don't match your learning style, you're not using your time efficiently.
Right. You need to adapt to modern tools and resources like apps, online courses, or language exchange platforms. Another mistake is not tracking your progress. If you don't measure how far you've come, it's hard to stay motivated.
That's a great one, Julia. Tracking progress helps you see the small wins that keep you going. And here's a final mistake to avoid: comparing yourself to others. Everyone learns at their own pace, so focus on your journey, not someone else's.
Exactly. Comparing yourself can be discouraging. Instead, celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Learning English quickly is about being strategic and avoiding these pitfalls. Now, Jason, should we move on to a quick recap of everything we've discussed today?
Absolutely. But first, let's hear from our listeners. If you've ever made any of these mistakes or have your own tips to share, let us know in the comments or send us a message.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. All right, let's move on to a recap of today's key points.
Now let's talk about creating a daily routine for fast improvement. Julia, wouldn't you agree that having a routine is one of the most effective ways to learn English quickly?
Definitely, Jason. A routine helps you stay consistent, and consistency is the secret to improvement. Let's break it down into simple, actionable steps. What's the first thing you recommend for a daily English routine?
The first step is to start your day with English. It could be something as simple as listening to a short podcast or watching a YouTube video while you're having breakfast. This sets the tone for the day and gets your brain thinking in English.
That's a great tip. And after that, you can dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to vocabulary. Use an app like Anki or Quizlet to review words and phrases. But don't just memorize them. Try creating sentences with those words so you can actually use them.
Exactly. Then, move on to practicing speaking. If you don't have a partner, you can do self-practice by describing your surroundings, talking about your plans for the day, or even reading aloud. The key is to get your mouth moving.
I love that. Speaking practice is so important, even if you're just talking to yourself. Later in the day, I recommend spending 20 to 30 minutes on listening practice. Choose something you enjoy, like a podcast, a TV show, or music, and really focus on the words and pronunciation.
Good advice, Julia. And let's not forget about reading. Spend at least 15 minutes reading something in English, whether it's a book, an article, or even social media posts. This helps improve your comprehension and introduces you to new vocabulary and context.
Yes, reading is essential, and here's a tip for the evening. End your day by writing. You can write a short journal entry about what you did that day, what you learned, or how you're feeling. Writing reinforces grammar and helps you express your thoughts more clearly.
That's a great way to end the day. And let's not forget about reviewing your progress. Take 5 minutes to go over what you've learned, whether it's new words, phrases, or something you practiced earlier. This helps you retain information better.
Exactly. So, to summarize, your daily routine could look like this. 1. Morning. Start with listening or watching something in English. 2. Midday. Practice vocabulary and speaking. 3rd afternoon. Do some focused listening or reading. 4th evening. Write and review your progress.
That's such a balanced routine, and it's manageable even if you have a busy schedule. The key is to be consistent and adjust the routine to fit your needs. Once it becomes a habit, you'll see results much faster.
Absolutely. Coming up, we'll answer some common questions about building routines and share additional tips to make learning more fun and effective.
Now, Julia, let's address something that every learner struggles with at some point: staying motivated and consistent. Learning English quickly isn't just about having the right techniques. It's about sticking with it even when it feels tough.
You're absolutely right, Jason. Motivation is like the fuel that keeps you going, but consistency is the engine. Without it, you can't make progress. So let's talk about some ways to stay motivated and build consistency into your routine.
Great idea! For me, one of the best ways to stay motivated is to set clear, specific goals. Instead of saying, "I want to learn English," try something like, "I want to hold a 5-minute conversation in English by the end of the month." What about you, Julia?
That's a great tip. I'd add that it's important to celebrate small wins. Did you learn 10 new words this week? Celebrate that. Were you able to understand a short video without subtitles? Give yourself credit. These small victories keep you motivated.
Absolutely. And another way to stay consistent is to make learning fun. If you hate memorizing grammar rules, find a way to learn through something you enjoy, like watching movies, playing games, or listening to songs in English.
Yes, making it enjoyable is so important. And here's another tip. Connect your learning to your personal interests or goals. For example, if you love cooking, try watching recipe videos in English. If you're into sports, follow English-speaking commentators.
That's such a practical idea. Another key to consistency is accountability. Share your goals with a friend or join an online community. When someone else knows about your goals, you're more likely to stick to them.
Exactly. And if you don't have a language buddy, you can even set reminders for yourself. Use apps to track your progress or reward yourself when you complete a learning streak.
That's a smart strategy. And let's not forget the power of routines, which we talked about earlier. A routine makes learning a habit, and habits are what carry you through when motivation dips.
That's true, Jason. And here's a final tip. Remind yourself of your why. Why do you want to improve your English? Maybe it's for a job, travel, or to connect with people around the world. Keeping that reason in mind can help you stay motivated.
That's such an important point, Julia. So, to sum it up, set clear goals, celebrate small wins, make learning fun, stay accountable, and always remember your why. If you stick to these principles, you'll stay motivated and consistent on your journey.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we'll answer some listener questions and wrap up with a quick recap of today's key points. Don't go anywhere.
Well, Julia, we've covered so much today. Everything from common challenges to effective tips, mistakes to avoid, and even how to stay motivated and consistent. I hope our listeners feel inspired and ready to take their English learning to the next level.
I think they will, Jason. Remember, learning English quickly doesn't mean rushing through it. It's about being smart with your time, staying consistent, and enjoying the process. Progress may feel slow at times, but every step counts.
That's such an important reminder. And to all our listeners out there, don't forget, you have the ability to improve every day. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more podcasts like this. Hit the like button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember, you're doing an amazing job. Until next time, happy learning.
See you in the next episode. Take care and keep improving your English. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm your host, Jason, and with me today is my amazing co-host, Julia.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you again. Today, we have a very helpful topic, how to improve your English vocabulary. If you're someone who struggles to find the right words while speaking, writing, or even thinking in English, this episode is for you.
That's right, Julia. Vocabulary is the foundation of communication. Without words, it's impossible to express yourself clearly. And if you want to sound more natural and confident in English, improving your vocabulary is a great place to start.
In today's episode, we'll talk about why vocabulary is so important, what common mistakes learners make, and we'll also share simple and powerful techniques to help you learn and remember new words.
Plus, we'll do a short role play to show how vocabulary can be used in everyday conversation. We'll also recommend tools, resources, and even give you a 7-day vocabulary challenge you can start right away.
Yes, and don't worry, everything will be beginner-friendly, easy to understand, and full of practical tips you can use daily.
So grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey to build your English vocabulary, step by step.
Let's do it!
All right, let's get into it. Why does vocabulary matter so much in learning English? Julia, what do you think?
Well, Jason, vocabulary is like the building blocks of a language. If you don't know the words, you can't really say what you want, right?
Exactly. Imagine trying to build a house without bricks. That's what speaking English is like without vocabulary. You might know the grammar, but without words, you're stuck.
And it's not just about speaking. Good vocabulary helps you understand what you read, what you hear, and even helps you think better in English.
Right! I remember a learner once told me, I understand English grammar, but I don't know what words to use. That's a very common problem.
Yes, and when your vocabulary grows, you also grow in confidence. You don't feel stuck. You don't feel lost. You can express your ideas more clearly, and that's powerful.
So true. And not just big, fancy words. Even knowing simple, everyday words well can make a huge difference in real conversations.
Definitely. It's not about knowing 10,000 words. It's about knowing the right words and knowing how to use them.
That's why today's episode is so important. Whether you're a beginner or intermediate learner, building your vocabulary will take your English to the next level.
And the best part? Learning vocabulary doesn't have to be boring. It can be fun, creative, and part of your daily life. We'll show you how.
Stay with us, because coming up next, we'll talk about some common mistakes learners make when trying to build their vocabulary, so you can avoid them and learn smarter. All right, so now that we understand why vocabulary is so important, let's talk about something many learners don't realize: the mistakes they make while trying to learn new words.
Oh yes, there are a few common ones we hear all the time. Let's go through them one by one, starting with a big one: trying to memorize long word lists.
Yes, people often think that memorizing 50 words a day will make them fluent. But guess what? Most of those words are forgotten in a day or two.
Exactly. Learning vocabulary isn't just about memorizing, it's about using the words. If you don't use them, you lose them.
Another mistake is learning words out of context. For example, a learner sees the word bark and only learns one meaning, like a dog barking, but then gets confused when reading the bark of a tree.
That's a great example. Learning words in full sentences or phrases helps you understand how the word is really used in real life.
And here's another one: not reviewing or practicing. Some learners learn a new word once and never look at it again.
Yes, reviewing is key. Just like going to the gym, you need repetition to build strength. The same goes for your vocabulary.
One more common mistake is focusing only on difficult or rare words and ignoring the simple, useful ones.
Right. Some learners want to learn words like meticulous or extraordinary, but they haven't mastered basic words like easy, difficult, or important.
There's nothing wrong with learning advanced vocabulary, but it's more important to build a strong foundation first.
Absolutely. And finally, some learners are afraid to speak or use new words because they're not sure if they're using them correctly.
Yes, but that's part of learning. Making mistakes is normal. The only way to get better is to try, speak, and practice.
So if you're listening right now, remember, don't just collect words. Connect with them, use them, practice them. That's how real learning happens.
Well said, Julia. And coming up next, we'll give you practical tips on how to learn and remember new words effectively. All right, now that we know the common mistakes to avoid, let's move on to something exciting: how to actually learn and remember new words in a smart and fun way.
Yes, there are so many creative methods, and the best part is you can choose what works best for you. So let's start with one of my favorites: learn vocabulary in context.
I love that one too. Instead of just learning a word by itself, try to learn it inside a sentence. For example, instead of memorizing the word delicious, say, "This pizza is delicious."
Exactly. When you see or hear a word in a real sentence, your brain connects it to a situation, and it's easier to remember.
Tip number 2. Use pictures or emotions. If you see the word happy, think of a picture that makes you smile. Our brains remember images and feelings more than just letters.
That's why flashcards with images can be powerful. Apps like Anki or Quizlet are great for this. They let you review with pictures and audio, great for all types of learners.
Tip number 3. Use the new word immediately. Write it in a sentence, say it out loud, or use it in a message or short story.
Yes, and speak to yourself. Say, I learned the word confident today. I feel confident when I speak English. It's simple, but it works.
And here's another great method. Group words by topic. For example, learn all the words about food this week, like spicy, sweet, salty, grill, boil, and menu.
Right. That makes it easier for your brain to connect them. And when you go to a restaurant, you'll remember the words more easily.
Also, don't forget the power of repetition. Review the new words the same day, then again the next day, then in a few days. Spaced repetition helps your memory grow stronger.
One more tip, learn word families. For example, from the word teach, you can also learn teacher, teaching, taught. One word becomes 4.
That's a great trick. It saves time and helps you understand how words change form in real use.
So remember, everyone, don't just read words. Speak them, write them, feel them, connect them. The more you use a word, the more it becomes part of you.
Coming up next, we'll talk about how to use your vocabulary in real life, so your English becomes more natural and confident.
Stay with us!
So far, we've talked about how to learn and remember new words. But here's the big question. How do you actually use your vocabulary in real life?
That's such an important step, Jason. Because learning words isn't enough. We need to practice using them in speaking, writing, and even thinking.
Let's start with speaking. One great way to practice is to use new words in simple daily conversations, even if you're just talking to yourself.
Yes. For example, if you learn the word confused, you can say, I felt confused during the meeting, or this movie is confusing. Speak it out loud, even if no one is around.
And if you have a language partner or a tutor, try to use your new words in your next conversation. It helps you feel more confident and remember them better.
Exactly. Now let's talk about writing. Even if you don't write essays, you can still use vocabulary in simple ways, like writing a diary or social media post in English.
Yes, just a few sentences each day using the new words. For example, today I felt energetic. I went for a long walk. Short, but meaningful.
And here's a tip most learners forget think in English. If you see a flower, think, this flower is beautiful. If you're hungry, think, I want something spicy.
That's powerful. You're training your brain to use English naturally, not just in class, but everywhere.
And the more you speak, write, and think in English, the more confident and fluent you become. You stop translating in your head and start speaking freely.
So don't keep your vocabulary locked in a notebook. Use it in your life. That's how it becomes part of your language, your voice.
Coming up next, we'll do a fun role play to show you how a learner uses new vocabulary in a simple conversation. Let's see it in action.
Don't go anywhere.
Hey, Jason, how was your weekend?
Hey, Julia. It was actually really good. I had a very productive Saturday.
Oh, nice. What did you do?
Well, I cleaned my room, finished my homework, and even read a few chapters of an English book.
Wow, that's impressive. You were on fire.
Ha ha ha. Yes, but on Sunday, I was totally exhausted. I stayed in bed until noon.
I don't blame you. We all need rest sometimes. Did you do anything fun later?
Yes! I went to a small restaurant near my house. The food was delicious, especially the spicy chicken curry.
Yum. I love spicy food too. What else did you do?
Well, I watched an English movie. It was a mystery film, and I got a bit confused by the ending.
Mystery movies can be tricky sometimes. Did you watch with subtitles?
Yes, and I paused a few times to look up new words. I'm trying to feel more confident when I listen to native speakers.
That's awesome, Jason. Honestly, I can see your progress. You're using so many new words already.
Thanks, Julia. I'm trying to practice every day, even if it's just talking to myself in the mirror.
Keep it up. You're doing great.
All right, listeners, that was our short role play. Coming up next, we'll break it down and explain how those vocabulary words were used and how you can do the same in your daily life.
Stay tuned. This is where real learning happens. Welcome back. Now let's take a closer look at our role play conversation and how Jason, the learner, used new vocabulary naturally. Yes, we chose 5 important words: productive, exhausted, delicious, confused, and confident. Let's see how each word was used correctly.
First, the word productive. Jason said, "I had a very productive Saturday." This means he got a lot of important things done. It's a great word to describe days when you feel successful.
Right, it's better than just saying, "I worked a lot." Productive sounds more natural and positive.
Next, exhausted. The learner said, "I was totally exhausted." This means very tired, almost completely out of energy. It's stronger than just tired.
And that's a good example of how to add feeling to your sentences. Instead of saying, "I was tired," saying exhausted shows you're really tired.
Then there's delicious. The learner said, "The food was delicious, especially the spicy chicken curry." This is a simple, common word to describe tasty food.
Yes, and pairing it with a specific example, like spicy chicken curry, makes the sentence even clearer and more interesting.
The fourth word was confused. The learner said, "I got a bit confused by the ending." This shows how to express that something was unclear or hard to understand.
It's an important word for learners because we often feel confused when we hear or read something new.
Finally, confident. The learner said, "I'm trying to feel more confident when I listen to native speakers." This means feeling sure of yourself.
Exactly. Using words like confident can help learners talk about their feelings and goals in English.
So remember, listeners, the key is to use vocabulary words in complete sentences that describe real experiences or feelings. It makes your English sound natural and clear.
And don't be afraid to try. Even if you make mistakes, practicing will help you improve fast.
Next, we'll share some of the best tools and resources to help you improve your vocabulary every day.
Keep going, you're doing amazing.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about some of the best tools and resources you can use to improve your English vocabulary every day.
Yes, there are so many great options out there, and the best part is, you can choose what fits your style and schedule.
Let's start with apps. A few popular vocabulary apps are Duolingo, Anki, and Quizlet. Have you tried any of these, Julia?
I have. I love Quizlet because you can create your own flashcards with words and pictures. It's perfect for reviewing anytime, anywhere.
Anki is also great because it uses something called spaced repetition. That means the app reminds you to review words just before you forget them, helping you remember longer.
And Duolingo is fun because it turns learning into a game with points and levels. It's a good way to learn new words in small daily lessons.
Besides apps, reading is another fantastic way to learn vocabulary naturally. Simple books, stories, or articles for English learners are perfect.
Yes, books like Oxford Bookworms or Penguin Readers have easy versions of famous stories that help you learn new words in context.
Listening is also key. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and audiobooks help you hear words in real conversations and improve your understanding.
Absolutely. And don't forget about language exchange websites and apps like HelloTalk or Tandem, where you can chat with native speakers and practice your new vocabulary.
So whether you prefer apps, books, listening, or chatting, there's something for everyone. The important thing is to keep practicing and using your vocabulary every day.
That's right. Consistency is the secret.
Up next, we'll talk about building daily habits to make vocabulary learning a natural part of your routine.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back! Now that you know some great tools and resources, let's talk about how to make vocabulary learning a daily habit.
Yes, learning a few new words every day might seem small, but it really adds up over time.
One simple habit is to learn and use 3 to 5 new words each day. Not too many, so it doesn't feel overwhelming.
And write those words down, either in a notebook or on your phone. Seeing them again helps your memory.
Try to use your new words in sentences right away. Speak them out loud. Write a message or tell a friend.
Another good habit is to review your words regularly. Look at yesterday's words, last week's words, even last month's.
Listening to English every day is also very helpful. Even 10 minutes of podcasts, music, or videos can expose you to new vocabulary naturally.
And remember, it's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to keep practicing and stay curious.
So, make vocabulary learning part of your daily routine, like brushing your teeth. Small steps every day lead to big progress.
Up next, we'll give you a fun 7-day vocabulary challenge to get started right now.
All right, listeners, now it's time for a challenge. We want you to try a simple 7-day vocabulary plan to jumpstart your learning.
Here's what you do. Each day, learn 3 new words, write them down, say them out loud, and try to use them in sentences.
You can pick words from a book, an app, or even from this podcast. The key is to focus on using the words, not just memorizing.
Also, review the words you learned the previous days every morning or evening. This helps you remember better.
And if you can, try to speak with someone or write a short message using your new words.
It doesn't have to be perfect, just try. This daily practice will help your vocabulary grow fast.
So, are you ready to take the 7-day challenge? Start today and let us know how it goes.
We believe in you!
We've come to the end of today's episode on how to improve your English vocabulary. Remember, building your vocabulary is a journey, not a race.
That's right. Every new word you learn is a step forward. Even small progress matters, so keep practicing and don't give up.
Use the tips, tools, and challenge we shared today. Make vocabulary learning part of your daily life, and soon you'll see big improvements.
And don't forget, making mistakes is normal. The more you use English, the more confident you'll become.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with friends who want to improve their English too.
See you next time on the English Learning Podcast. Keep learning, keep growing, and have fun with your English.
Bye, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Personal Growth Talks podcast. I'm your host, Jason.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. Thanks for joining us today. We have a really powerful topic to explore together.
Yes, today we're diving into something that might sound harsh or even controversial. Man without money are nothing. This is a sentence many people hear. Some believe it, others reject it.
Right. It's a phrase we often hear in movies, music, or even in everyday life. But what does it really mean? Are men really nothing if they don't have money? Or is this just a social mindset we need to question?
Exactly. In many cultures, a man's value is often measured by how much money he makes, what car he drives, or how successful he looks. But is that the only way to measure a man?
And what happens when a man doesn't have money? Does he lose his respect, his relationships, his sense of identity? These are the questions we'll explore today.
Our goal isn't to criticize anyone. We just want to open up an honest conversation. Whether you're a man feeling this pressure or someone trying to understand it, we hope this episode gives you a new perspective.
We'll also share real stories, personal reflections, and practical tips for building a strong identity that doesn't depend only on money.
So stay with us, and let's begin by talking about why this topic matters so much in today's society. So, Julia, let's talk about why this topic matters so much in today's world. Why is it that the idea, a man without money is nothing, keeps coming up again and again?
Well, Jason, I think a big reason is that we live in a world where money equals power. It affects status, influence, relationships, and even how people treat you. And unfortunately, men often carry a heavy burden. They feel like they have to be the provider, the protector, the one who earns the most.
That's true. From a young age, boys hear things like, be a man, don't depend on anyone, or your job is to take care of the family. And while being responsible is good, it also creates pressure. It teaches them that if you don't have money, you're a failure.
Exactly. And in today's world, especially with social media, men are constantly comparing themselves. They see other men showing luxury cars, big houses, expensive watches, and they start feeling less than if they don't have those things.
And that comparison can be dangerous. Some men fall into depression, anxiety, or even risky behaviors just to look rich or successful.
Not only that, but women, and society in general, sometimes expect men to be financially strong before they're seen as worthy. Like, if a man doesn't have a good job or enough money, he's often judged or rejected.
Right. And that's what makes this topic so important. Because we need to ask, are we defining a man's worth only by his wallet? What about his kindness, his honesty, his character?
Yes, there are so many men out there who are intelligent, hardworking, and loyal, but maybe they're still on their journey financially. Should they feel like they're nothing because of that?
Definitely not. We need to shift the mindset. Money is important, of course, but it's not the only thing that defines a human being.
And if we don't talk about this openly, more people will suffer in silence. So having this conversation, especially here on the podcast, is a way to challenge the mindset and bring some hope.
Exactly. And that brings us to our next point, the huge pressure men feel to always earn and succeed. Let's dive into that. So now let's talk about something very real, the pressure on men to earn money. Honestly, Julia, it's something many people don't fully understand unless they experience it themselves.
Yes, and it starts early. Boys are often taught that they must grow up to be providers. It becomes part of their identity. If they don't earn enough, they feel like they've failed, not just financially, but as a person.
Exactly. It's not just about making money. It's about proving something. Proving that you're strong, capable, dependable, and even manly. That's a lot of emotional weight to carry.
And in today's economy, things aren't easy. Not everyone can find a high-paying job. Not everyone has the same opportunities. But still, men feel like they have no excuse. They must succeed, no matter what.
That pressure shows up in many ways. Some men work long hours at jobs they hate. Others give up on their dreams just to earn fast money. And sadly, some even stay silent about their stress or fears because they don't want to seem weak.
That's heartbreaking. It's like men are expected to be machines, always working, always providing, without ever breaking down or asking for help.
And even in relationships, money plays a big role. Many men worry that if they don't earn enough, they won't be respected by their partner, or worse, they'll be left behind.
True. I've heard men say, if I don't have money, no one will even look at me. And that mindset comes from years of social conditioning. Society says, you're only valuable if you can afford things.
And that's why the pressure is not just financial, it's deeply emotional and psychological. It affects self-esteem, confidence, and mental health.
And here's the truth. Yes, money matters, but a man's worth is not only in his income. It's in how he treats others, how he handles challenges, and how he keeps moving forward even when life gets hard.
Well said. So let's move on and ask the big question. Is a man's worth only measured by his income? Let's explore that next. All right, let's ask the big question. Is a man's worth only measured by his income? What do you think, Julia?
I'll say this, Jason. It shouldn't be. But unfortunately, in many parts of the world, people do judge a man by how much money he makes. It's like society has created this invisible scale. The more money you have, the more valuable you are.
Yes, and that's a very dangerous way to measure someone's worth. Of course, income is part of life. We all need money to survive, to support ourselves and our families. But it's just one part of a person's identity.
Right. A man could be a great father, a loyal friend, a wise thinker, or a kind human being. But if he doesn't have a big bank account, many people overlook all of that.
That's so true. And think about the people who are still working hard every day to grow. Maybe they lost a job, or maybe they're in school, or trying to start something new. They still have value, even if the money hasn't come yet.
Exactly. But sadly, some people only see what's visible: money, success, lifestyle. They don't see the potential, the effort, or the character behind the man.
And that can really destroy a man's confidence. He starts to believe, I'm not enough. I don't matter. No one respects me because I don't have money. That inner voice becomes very toxic.
Yes, and it can lead to depression, anger, or even isolation. That's why we have to change the message we send, especially to young men. Their worth isn't tied to their wallet. It's tied to who they are.
I agree. I mean, some of the greatest men in history, leaders, teachers, inventors, were not rich. What made them great was their mindset, their heart, and their impact on others.
And even today, there are millions of hardworking men out there who give their best every day, not for fame or money, but for love, for growth, for purpose. We need to celebrate that too.
Absolutely. So to anyone listening right now who feels less than because of money, please know you matter. You are not defined by your paycheck. You are so much more.
And now that we've unpacked that question, let's go deeper. Let's talk about how societal expectations and personal identity are often in conflict. That's coming up next.
So Julia, let's talk about something really important. Societal expectations versus personal identity. Because a lot of the pressure men feel comes from what society expects them to be.
Yes, absolutely. Society often says, a real man provides, a real man is strong, a real man doesn't cry, and of course, a real man must have money. But who gets to decide what a real man is?
Exactly. These expectations are like invisible rules that many men try to follow, even if those rules go against their true selves. It's like wearing a mask just to be accepted.
And over time, that mask becomes heavy. A man might want to be an artist, a teacher, a stay-at-home dad, or even take a break to focus on mental health. But if those roles don't come with high income or status, people start judging him.
Right. It's like society says, don't be who you are. Be who we expect you to be. And that creates a deep conflict inside. A man starts to feel lost. Should I follow my passion or follow the money?
And sadly, many choose money, not because they want to, but because they feel they have no other choice. They're afraid they'll be seen as weak, lazy, or irresponsible.
And that's where identity begins to suffer. When you live your life based only on others' expectations, you lose touch with your true self. And that can lead to burnout, sadness, or even identity crisis.
The truth is, personal identity is powerful. When a man knows who he is, his values, his dreams, his purpose, he becomes strong from the inside. Money or no money, he feels whole.
Yes, and that inner strength often leads to outer success later on. Because when you live with purpose and passion, you create your own path, not just follow someone else's.
So for any man listening today, ask yourself, who am I really? Am I living for myself or just to please others? That one question can change everything.
Well said, Julia. Now let's hear some real-life stories of men who were judged for not having money, and how they dealt with it. I think this will really connect with our listeners. So let's share some real-life examples now. Because sadly, many men around the world have been judged, or even rejected, just because they didn't have money.
Yes, and these stories are painful, but they're also powerful. They help us see the emotional cost of this kind of thinking.
One story that really stuck with me is about a young man named Amir. He was a brilliant computer programmer, self-taught, super passionate, but he came from a poor background and couldn't afford a college degree. When he proposed to the woman he loved, her family rejected him. Not because of who he was, but because he didn't have a proper job or status.
That's heartbreaking, Jason. He had talent, ambition, and a good heart, but all they saw was the money he didn't have.
Exactly. But here's the amazing part. He didn't give up. He started freelancing online, built his skills, and eventually created a tech startup. Today, he's successful and respected. But imagine if he had let that rejection define his worth.
Wow, that's inspiring. And I've heard many similar stories. One man I know wanted to be an artist, but his community mocked him, saying, "Art doesn't feed a family." He gave up art for years just to work a job he didn't love. Only later in life did he return to his passion, and now his work is in galleries.
It really shows how we judge too quickly. We don't always see the potential inside someone who is struggling financially, but struggle doesn't mean someone is lazy. It doesn't mean they're not good enough.
Exactly. And you know what's even sadder? Sometimes men judge themselves more harshly than anyone else. They think, if I'm broke, I'm worthless. That mindset can destroy confidence.
Yes, but these stories remind us money can come and go, but dignity, hard work, and growth matter so much more. People who are judged for not having money are often the ones who later surprise everyone.
Absolutely. And if you're listening right now and you've been judged or rejected for your financial situation, please don't lose hope. You are more than your bank account. Your journey isn't over.
That's right. And speaking of hope, let's ask a powerful question next. Can a man be happy and respected without wealth? Let's talk about that coming up. So here's the next big question. Can a man truly be happy and respected without wealth? What do you think, Julia?
I believe the answer is yes, Jason, but it depends on two things: the mindset of the man himself and the people around him. If a man has self-respect and lives with purpose, he can be happy, even without a lot of money.
Totally agree. It's not easy, though. In a world that celebrates luxury and success, it takes real inner strength to say, I may not be rich, but I know who I am, and I'm proud of that.
Yes, and that kind of happiness comes from within, from knowing you're doing your best, from having good relationships, growing every day, and living with integrity.
Exactly. And when people around you respect your values, not just your bank balance, that's when true happiness grows. It's about the quality of life, not the quantity of money.
You can have peace, love, and purpose without a big paycheck. Many men who live simple lives are deeply content. They focus on health, family, spirituality, or helping others, and that gives their life meaning.
And let's be honest, money doesn't guarantee happiness anyway. We've seen wealthy people who are lonely, stressed, or completely lost.
That's so true. So yes, a man can be respected and happy without wealth, but it starts with how he sees himself. If he values who he is, others will follow.
Beautifully said. Now, let's talk about something practical. How can men build value beyond money? What are the things that really make someone rich in character? Let's explore that next. So, Julia, now that we've talked about how happiness and respect aren't only tied to wealth, let's get practical. How can a man build real value beyond just money?
Great question, Jason. I believe one of the biggest ways is by developing strong character. Qualities like honesty, kindness, responsibility, and patience, they make someone truly valuable, not just in society, but in relationships and within themselves.
Absolutely. A man who keeps his word, respects others, and shows up with integrity. That's someone people trust, regardless of how much he earns.
Another way is to build skills. When you're always learning, whether it's communication, leadership, problem-solving, or creativity, you increase your worth in ways money can't measure.
That's right. And you can learn those things for free. Through books, online courses, podcasts like this one. When you invest in yourself, you become richer on the inside.
Also, don't forget emotional intelligence. Men who understand their emotions, who can stay calm under pressure and support others, those are powerful traits. People are drawn to that kind of maturity.
Yes, and let's not overlook relationships. Being a good father, a loyal partner, a supportive friend, that's a kind of wealth too. It's the wealth of connection.
So true. And even giving back, volunteering, mentoring, or simply encouraging someone adds to your value. Because when you lift others, you lift yourself.
Exactly. So, to all our listeners, never forget this. You don't need to have money to add value to the world. You just need to show up as your best self every day.
And now, for those who are facing real struggles, let's share some encouraging advice on how to deal with the pressure. That's coming up next.
All right, let's take a moment to speak directly to the men who are listening and who may be struggling with financial pressure right now.
First of all, if that's you, we see you. We know it's not easy. The stress of trying to provide, feeling judged, or feeling less than can be overwhelming.
But please remember, your situation doesn't define you. Your current income is not your final destination. You're growing. You're learning. You're doing your best. And that's enough.
Take small steps every day. Focus on improving yourself, mentally, emotionally, and skill-wise. Look for opportunities, stay connected to supportive people, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
And most importantly, be kind to yourself. You are not a failure. You are not alone. You are worthy of respect, love, and happiness, no matter your financial situation.
You are more than money. You are human, and you have value, right now just as you are.
All right, let's wrap up with some final thoughts and encouragement before we close today's powerful episode. Well, Julia, this has been a deep and meaningful conversation. To all our listeners, remember, your worth is never defined by money alone.
Yes, Jason, you are valuable for who you are, your character, your kindness, your courage to keep going even when things are tough.
So keep believing in yourself. Keep growing. And remember, success comes in many forms, not just financial.
Thank you so much for listening to Personal Growth Talks podcast. We hope today's episode gave you strength and a fresh perspective.
Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and keep moving forward.
Take care, everyone.